This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. My guest today, the awesome and amazing Joel Block, author of Stop Hustling Gigs and Start Building a Business. How are you, buddy?
David, I am awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
So I got to tell you, you were very generous. It was the winter conference where you were on the main stage. This was a couple years back.
2 years ago.
You gifted a copy of your book to people that would stop by and, or your friends, the inside track, if you will, which will come back.
Actually, I gave one to everybody in the audience.
Yeah, well, very, very generous. And, if you read the book, it's not for speakers. Although, if you read the book, it is 100%. So in other words, you didn't write it because the subtitle is 101 Tricks of the Trade to Help Entrepreneurs and Self-Employed People Build a Money-Making Machine. But I would say 90%, if not more, of these ideas, which are totally fantastic, direct hit on anybody who's a speaker, consultant, coach, trainer. So many smart ideas. And talk a little bit about the genesis of the book, because you didn't write the book really for the public. You wrote the book for your kids.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what you may not remember was that I wrote a special edition for speakers.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was a little different. So it's not printed, it's a PDF, but if you want to get your hands on it, I'll share it.
Yes, no, we'll do that URL. We'll put that in the show notes. Absolutely.
Yeah, probably have to charge you extra for that because...
Totally. Well, this is a fee-paid episode already.
Just charge extra, that's all.
Any place that Joel Block shows up, the money follows. So you guys, this podcast episode is like $8 a person. Your credit card has already been charged.
Listen, I've been in the money business for my whole career. And what that means is that you watch a TV show, The Shark Tank. I'm like in the Shark Tank. I'm in the venture capital business. So I have money. Investors give me money. I have a fund. And then people call me and they say, hey, Joel, will you put money in my deal? Or we'll buy real estate, or we'll buy notes from a bank, or, we'll buy things. So, I've been doing this for my whole career. And I started a business many years ago, which I sold to a Fortune 500 company and did pretty well. And so then I went in the venture capital business after that and started funding other people's companies. So after my company got funded and sold, I started doing that and helping other people. And so I've seen a lot of really interesting ideas. I've seen a lot of really bad ideas too, by the way. But having been around hundreds of companies, and I've probably been inside probably more than 1,000 companies in my 30-year career. I've been pitched way more deals than that, but I've seen a lot of interesting stuff. And of all the things that I've seen, there are some patterns of things that go well. And so I have certain ways that I think about things. There are the little funny names that I've given to things, and there are little ideas that I have. And I just think about some things in a rather unusual way. For somebody in the money business, I mean, David, you're a very creative person. In my world, like I look at you and go, my God, you're so creative. I'm so uncreative. But in my world, I'm like, Leonardo da Vinci. I'm like out there crazy, compared to many of the people in my world, because I'm creative in my world. I don't think my crazy compares to your crazy, really. I mean, you're really creative more than me. But I guess we're all creative in our own special way. Exactly. And so I've got a lot of ways I think about things that really simplify a lot of really complicated concepts that I think people really need to understand in order to be successful. And I started thinking, as my kids got a little older, now they're just about out of college and everything done. But as they started getting older, like when they were, in high school taking economics, we started talking about some of these concepts at the dinner table. And I thought, God, I really should write this stuff down so that they can understand how I think. And that became this book. I started, noting every time I would have a meeting, I note down what the concept was. And I turned that into a book in the last couple of years, which was for my children, but it was too good not to share.
Yeah, I love that genesis of that because it's so smart. And I want to go back into the seminar business. And that also takes me to my first little book nugget, which so many great things in this book, you guys. You have to run out. We're going to tap into the Amazon link down below for how to get Joel's book. But only want one client. Only want one client. And of course, that's the client sitting in your chair right now.
Yeah.
Talk about how when you literally stopped hustling gigs and you created your own platform. Talk about that transformation and how that was I think the pivotal moment in your realization that the speaking business could be something completely different than the way most speakers looked at it.
Well, I sold my business in 1995, and then I dabbled in a number of different things. And I started thinking, boy, I really should be speaking. I should really be doing more things. And in around 2003, I really wanted to kind of get out there. And I just couldn't figure out how to do it. I just couldn't figure out, how to get somebody to hire me. And by the way, not ever having, I had one job in my life. I worked at Price Waterhouse out of college. The truth is, I don't know how to get hired. I just don't. I just don't know how to do that. And I started thinking, maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why I can't get in the speaking business, because I don't know how to get hired. And you won't believe this, but in 2008, I got a phone call because I was producing blogs and other things. I got a phone call from this executive from Marks and Millichap, which is the largest commercial real estate broker in the country. And the guy said, "Hey, look, we found you on the internet. We're very fascinated by what you publish, and we'd like to bring you to Florida to teach us how to raise capital to buy real estate." And I'm like, oh my God, this is my dream come true. I've wanted to be in the speaking business. This guy calls me up. And so he offers me a pretty substantial amount of money for coming out and doing a program for them. And he said, "So what do you want to do?" And I said, let me sleep on this overnight. Let me think about exactly what we need to do here. I'll call you tomorrow. And you will, David, this is the kind of thing, I don't know what other people would do, but I went to bed that night and I woke up in the morning and I realized I really did not want to be a keynote speaker. Now, I'm not telling you that your clients should not be keynote speakers, but you asked the question about what client you want to have. And this guy was trying to hire me to be a speaker for him. And I realized I really did not want to be a keynote speaker. I wanted the money, by the way. And so there's a principle in the book that talks about structure. Now, structure is a funny thing because it doesn't look like anything on paper, but the impact is unbelievable. And David, you and I are in the most elite group in NSA together, right? You know that, okay? And I don't know if you ever talk about what that is.
I do. Let's tell them.
Okay, go ahead, tell them.
So Joel and I are in the $1 Million Speakers group. So any profession, real estate, financial services, they have $1 million roundtable, and that's the National Speakers Association's version called the $1 Million Speakers Group.
Yeah, these are the people who make the most money in all of NSA. These are the people who've been the most successful in their speaking businesses. And so I thought to myself, I really don't want to be a keynote speaker, but I wanted the guy's money. So here's what I did. And it was a magical twist. I call it a turning point. When I realized this, I called the guy back. I said, "Look, the amount you offered me is fine. I'll take it." I said, "But instead of me coming out and doing a keynote for you, what I want to do is I'm going to put it in my seminar company, which if I had to put an asterisk, which I formed that morning when I called him back." So I called him and I said, "Okay, look, I want to put the money in my seminar company. And what I'll do is I'll give you 40 tickets to the event, and then I'm going to go out and I'm going to sell some tickets too." So the money goes in the bank. Now, the money goes in the bank. It looked the same as the keynote fee going in the bank, but let's think about the impact of what I did. If I would have gotten a keynote fee, I'd have gone there, done the keynote one time, and then I would have left. And that would be it. And I would have gotten the money and I'd be done. And I'd be hustling gigs. Okay. And then I'd be off looking for the next gig, even though that was a pretty nice 5-figure deal. It was pretty good, which anybody in NSA would be very proud of. But that's not what I wanted. So I said, "Give me the money. I'll give you 40 tickets. So he goes, "Oh, that sounds fine. 40 tickets is fine. I'll send my best 40 guys to the program." And then I went out and I could sell my own so I could make even more. But then here's the most important thing that happened. Then at the end of the thing, I said, "Listen, now, if anybody wants to buy my assistance in helping you to do the thing that I'm teaching you how to do, guess who gets to keep the money? Me." That's called Own the Gate. And you, David, you've interviewed me on Own the Gate before. You know that I'm a big proponent of Own the Gate. So if there was anything that came out of it, that's fine. And then guess what? 3 months later, we did another one. And I sold more tickets, and another one, and we sold more tickets. And then people would buy more and more of these consulting and advisory services. And that business, we're now doing our 22nd national program in Philadelphia, coincidentally, where you're located, in late April.
I'm there.
and I'd like you to drop by and and meet some of my guys because they're awesome people. And we sell 50 tickets. We sell it twice a year. And this business generates a lot of dough. And it's because I structured it as a seminar company instead of as a keynote. If I'd have done it as a keynote, I'd have made, one clump, one time. Instead, I've probably made 150 times more than that over the next, 9 years.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. There's so many things I like about that. The main thing that occurs to me now that I didn't really fully appreciate until I heard you talk about it this time, when they come to you as opposed to you going to them, it is your house, your rules. You are no longer a guest, you are the host. Mm-hmm. And there's a convener sort of mentality that they're literally coming into your space. They are drinking your coffee. They are eating your bacon and eggs. They are eating your hot lunch and your coleslaw. And you own them instead of them owning you.
Yeah.
There's a profound shift in anything that you might offer or sell in that room when you are the host. And what's the job of a host? Take care of my guests. I would not be serving my guests if I let them go back out in the cold in the same condition that they came in. I want to equip them. I want to help them. I want to serve them with your back-end products and services and programs.
As a keynote speaker, you only can contribute what they'll let you. They give you a little teeny window. You tell your story, you come, you go, and they whisk you off the stage and you're gone. This, I craft it exactly as I want. I give them a lot. I radically change their life. And for that reason, these are the most loyal people. In fact, you won't believe this. People are absolutely amazed. I serve a pretty wealthy audience of people, probably 80 or 90% men, because I teach these people how to raise money the way Wall Street raises money. So it's a very sophisticated topic. And I have these pretty wealthy people, these men, offering to help run the registration table. They want to be like the line leader and like the light monitor in elementary school. It's unbelievable. And in fact, we have every October event is always in Las Vegas because I like to watch the World Series at night on the Las Vegas TVs. And the April event rotates around the country. And every year, some alum from the group will say, I want to host it in my city because I want to bring the people from the symposium to my city. I want to show them around. I mean, these guys take great pride. And now we've built a mastermind community, of these guys. We help build their funds. So we've really developed what I call a revenue octopus, a whole, a multiple revenue stream kind of business. And I describe revenue octopus, by the way, in the book. It's one of my most important.
Yeah, let's talk about that. People need to hear that.
There's a couple different ways you can build a revenue octopus, and I talk about that. So we talk about, structuring your deals. I mean, if you structure your deal wrong, if I would have taken the money as a keynote, that would be one gig, and I would be jumping around over and over, and I'd keep jumping. Now I'm not jumping. I have this incredible seminar business. Do you have any referrals? I mean, I got a guy this morning that says, hey, listen, I want to come. I want to bring 2 guys with me. Another guy called. I heard about you from this friend of mine. Joel, I heard you're the man. So first of all, David, we know each other pretty well from our groups and everything. We talk confidentially. You're a lot about positioning. If you are an expert, then people will say, people call Joel, I heard you're the man. Well, that's true. I am. That's what there's nobody in the country that I'm going to but you. And I have materials and I have videos and I have support and I show people how things work and I shoot straight. I don't play games. I don't tease them. I give them the answer. And, I charge a lot of money, by the way, which is fine. They're okay to pay a lot of money, but there's no baloney and fluffy stuff. They get what they need and that's it.
Let's talk about revenue octopus because I think it's really important, which is another factor of getting off that gig to gig hamster wheel. And, I know you got a couple of great analogies, and one is the cruise ship and the other is Starbucks. Pick your favorite between those and let's walk through it because that I think really sticks the landing on revenue octopus.
Yeah, well, let's talk about what a revenue octopus is. It's really about having multiple streams of income that are based on a similar concept where you're repurposing some amount of activity into another asset base, another customer base, where you're not, running a fishing store and a restaurant and a car mechanic facility. Those would not be good. That's like you're all over the map. This is, in my deal, I sell tickets to my seminar. Then we have a back-end program, which is advisory services. And then anybody who completes that, gets invited into the mastermind, and there's additional advisory. So there's a number of things that happen to each person. They don't all happen to them on the same day, but that person, I'm able to make more money from them by doing many different things over time. That's a revenue octopus. And great companies all have a revenue octopus working for them. And it's octopus because it's 8 different revenue streams. The goal is 8 different revenue streams. Put your fate in 8, one of those kind of things. So for example, a hotel, you go to a hotel, you buy a room and they'll say, well, would you like a better room? Okay, so they could upgrade you. That's one thing. All right, I'll have an upgrade. Great. Can we make a reservation for you at one of our restaurants? That's another thing. How about, would you like a spa, massage? Would you like some enhanced whatever? We can sell you, they'll have movies on the TV that you can buy if you want to. They have room service.
Internet, premium internet.
Yeah, they have premium internet, right? So they got all different kind of ways that they can make money. So like what I like to say is there's a lot of ways you can leave money at a hotel, right? Starbucks, same thing. You can buy a coffee, you can buy a coffee machine, you can buy beans. There's all these things you can do on a cruise ship. There's all these different things that happen. You buy your main ticket, then they can upgrade your room, and then they got excursions, and they have gambling at the casino, and they have spas, and they have every different thing, babysitting, and the funny thing about babysitting is that the parents, they give you all these different ways to spend money. They make you pay to take the care of the kids so that the parent can go out and spend more money.
It's a good business.
But for some reason, a lot of self-employed people are embarrassed about selling. And this is the part that's really dangerous, is when you go to a hotel, they've got 20 different ways for you to leave money at their hotel. You go to Starbucks, 20 different ways. When you go on a cruise, they got 50 different ways. They're not embarrassed. They're proud of it. And they take pride in every single one of those ways that they're going to make you feel good about being a customer. But we go deliver a speech and we go, okay, the speech is over. See you later. We go home, we get back on the phone and we start banging over it. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. We're not being smart. That's the gig to gig to gig mentality that's not working. So what we need to do is we need to be smart. We need to give customers a good way to do business with us. And think about this, David. If you hire a fantastic plumber, you get a referral to a great plumber, and the guy comes over your house and he does a really good job on whatever the problem is, charges you a fair price, and you're very satisfied. What are you going to do? You're going to hire him next time, or you're going to go to the Yellow Pages and start over?
He's my guy forever.
He's your guy. But for whatever reason, we don't think that way. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of self-employed people, they just don't realize that the customer, they want you to come back. They want more. If I like David Newman, I want more David Newman. Now, you may not be able to have them at your annual conference every single year because you got to shuffle it up because the people, want different things. But listen, if they think David's a good marketer, man, they're bringing you in for this, and they're going to bring you to that department. They're going to bring you to that. They're going to share the wealth across many departments. And that's what we have to do, is we have to get people to love us so much that they say, we want more of you. But you have to have things that they can buy. If you don't organize your life in a way that people can buy you and buy what you do, then you're never going to be successful. And David, this opens up a whole other thing. This always sounds funny to people, but companies do not have problems. Everybody says, oh, you got to solve problems. Companies do not have problems. This is a total fallacy. Of course, they pay money for certain things, but companies and businesses do not have problems. You know what they have? They have expenses. That's all they have. They have expenses. So if a big company is sued, they have a legal situation. That's not a problem. They just call an attorney, throw some money at it, and the attorney makes the problem go away. They don't look at it like a problem. If their Xerox machine breaks, that's not a problem. They just call somebody to fix it, and they throw some money at it, and it's fixed. So all they have are expenses. So if they have a situation or an issue that needs to be resolved, and we're able to solve it, they would like to give us the money to make that situation, to get it under control, right or wrong. I mean, that's what they want. And we have to make it easy for them to do that. And we have to make it easy for them to call us over and over and over again, because that's what needs to happen. And we, generally speaking, do not do a great job of that.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And when we're going to link up the speaker edition of How to Stop Hustling Gigs, you've got so many great ideas in the book to help people with that kind of thinking around depth, duration, detail, done with you, done for you, teach you, train you, coach you. What you're talking about now, of course, is solve bigger problems, get bigger checks.
David, you're the master of the list. I'm sure you can come up with 52 different ways that people can work with companies. Maybe you already have.
Right.
And people, it's a mentality. They need to get in the mentality of productizing themselves. You have to productize your services in a way that people can buy them.
Sell nouns is a great section of the book.
Listen, I'm all about selling. You know me. I could sell my way out of any box. I mean, I love to sell. And by the way, I'm a CPA, by the way. People, don't really, they go, you got to be kidding me. But, I'm very rational. And it's very hard to disagree with rational. Like, I don't scream and yell and holler and bang and clang, and I don't do any of those kind of crazy things. I'm very rational. I just explain, here's how it works. And people go, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of logic to it. And I could teach this. I mean, I do teach how this works. And so one of the things that if you want to really be effective in telling stories or in selling or in anything, the most powerful words in our language are nouns, because people can see a noun in their mind's eye. You can get a picture of it. So if I say, David, imagine a rock, you could imagine a rock. But if I said, imagine driving, who knows what you're going to imagine? It could be a lot of different things, but a person driving a car, that is pretty specific.
Right. Well, and the way you apply that, of course, to a speaking or consulting business is to name every part of your system.
Oh,
right. That's the noun. So it's going to be the accelerator, the navigator, the compass, the roadmap, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
The phases and stages of the work that we do. What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar.
I just had a meeting with a guy who was describing to me that he really needed somebody to bounce some ideas off of. So I went back to him and had lunch the other day, and he said, well, do you think you could help me? I said, we have a specific program. It's called Executive Sounding Board Services. Here's how you know you get it right. The guy said to me, he goes, Joel, that is exactly what we need. So it wasn't like, well, we have consulting to help you. Oh, consulting? I don't really need consulting. I really need a sounding board. So you tell him it's sounding board services, and the guy's like, oh my God, I can't believe your company has that exact service. That's the exact thing that we do. And now, of course, we do sounding board, we do advisory, we do consulting. They're all the same. But, when you give a name like sounding board that the guy can see in his mind's eye, then he can, and when you get the answer, when somebody says that is exactly what we need, then take out your order pad.
Exactly. I love that.
Now, here's another thing. Don't charge too little. One of the biggest mistakes people make, they charge too little. Weren't we talking just the other day about being reassuringly expensive?
Yeah.
Remember that the other day?
Yeah. Very important message.
Reassuringly expensive is different for every person. Sometimes I'll put a number on the table and people have to go home and think about it, and they got to think, boy, should I do that or not? And then you got to help them with that. You don't beg for the money. What you do is you draw a line to the money. And here's how you draw a line to the money. You should say to somebody, listen, you're going to pay me X, but you're going to make 10 or 20 or 30 times X on what we do together. So I'm going to help you to understand. Yeah, granted, listen, I'm kind of expensive. I get it. But you're getting a lot more than I am, which the person should be getting. If they're not getting a lot more than you, like by 5 or 10 or 20 times, then they're not getting their money's worth.
Right.
Let me tell you, when you go to Wells Fargo and you might put your money and you get 1%, you don't get 1 times or 2 times or 10 times. So if somebody in business can get a 5 times, 10 times ROI, I mean, that's a home run. And that makes it a lot easier for them to work with you. And that's the CPA part of me, where you just try to make it understand that they're making an investment. Businesses make investments.
Right.
They have expenses, they make investments. An expense, the money's gone. An investment, the money sticks around and works. And you want to help them put the money to work.
So, final couple things. I think one message that people cannot hear often enough in speaker, consultant, and coach land, and you put it very clearly and plainly in the book, and you and I have talked about this lots of different ways. Work with people who have the money to pay you, right? If you just sell to broke people, you're going to go broke with them. So why is that so obvious, but why does it need to be repeated so often?
I think that when you're earlier in business and you don't have a lot of confidence, you go after these lower people because you kind of think, well, they're at my level, so I'll work with them. You need to not go at people who are at your financial level, but who are at your intellectual level. And if you're an expert and you've got some good positioning that backs up your expertise, and David, that means that they have to have some collateral, they got videos, whatever it is that where somebody looks at this and go, wow, you really must be an expert to be able to produce. Like I've got these video libraries. People look at these libraries, and I do this thing called these Dear Abby questions. People will write me questions like, Joel, what do we have to do to take a check from an investor? So I'll make a little 5-minute video and I'll put it into the library and I'll circulate it. And I've got like 40 videos in this library and I've got maybe 30 more questions in the queue ready to work. People look at this library, they watch these videos and I'm not pulling punches. I'm telling them the straight answer. I'm really answering for real. I'm not, joking around. I'm not selling anything. At the end of the video, it doesn't say go to my website and start buying stuff. It's just me giving them really good answers. People will call me on the phone or I'll see them in person and they'll say, Joel, I would not go to anybody else but you in the country to work on this sort of thing. And my services are expensive, David, as you know.
Yeah.
So for them to say that is pretty good. And if you go to people that just don't have any money, that what that means is that you're probably not respecting your own intellect and your own capability, and you don't have confidence. And you really have to work on that, because if you want to get to the next level, you have to know, hey, listen, talk about really valuable information. And then listen, are you able to help somebody draw a line to the money? I mean, if somebody learns to do what you do, or if you help them, what's that worth to somebody? And if it's not worth very much, then reorganize yourself and think of something else to do.
Right.
But if you can deliver some value to somebody and somebody can really walk away and say, boy, as a result of what David taught me, that 10,000 turned into 100 or whatever the number is. I don't know what the number is. Boy, that was magical. I mean, that was really a great investment. And then they'll call a friend and say, God, I made a really great investment, in my speaking career. And people say, yeah, I've noticed. I mean, you're off to the races. You're doing awesome. Yeah, well, I made an investment in myself and I made 10 to 1. I mean, I'm making 10 times money on what this guy taught me. Well, that's pretty painless for the next person to come along and say, well, I'd like to make 10 times money. I'll invest it with you too. So David, you end up with a good business. The client ends up with a really, really good business, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
And that's what business in America is about. It's about everybody winning. That doesn't mean everybody gets stuff for free. So you want to go with people that have the money to pay you a respectful amount, because let me just tell you, in the United States of America, the way you say thank you is by writing a check. That's how you say thank you in this country. And do not kid yourself. I may be a little bit abrasive about, some financial concepts, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And anybody who says, no, they're not shooting straight. The truth is we say thank you with our checkbook. So go find people that have some money that can say thank you after you've done a wonderful job for them.
There you go. Total slam dunk. So I'm going to have two final questions for you. The final question is, how can people get connected and stay connected to you? And we're going to link up all the show notes and give people all the access to where you're about to send them. But before we do that, if folks were to take one overarching concept from our conversation today, what would you hope that would be?
Well, from our concept, to me, all the things we've talked about have all been about selling. At the end of the day, life is about selling. You have to do a good job with selling. If we didn't talk about these different topics, I might have come up with a different one. But the things we just talked about, the things that you picked out for us to talk about, really all kind of tie into a sales theme. And I would say you really have to learn how to do that. My book does have a whole section on how I sell, how I think, how I convince people to say yes, and all the things that are involved in my process. And they're just a little different. I mean, I've got my own spin on things. I've got my own approach. So I would say that you really have to invest in becoming a good seller, because if you can't sell yourself, then you're going to leave everything on the table. You'll just never be satisfied with your results. And here's the thing. Being a seller, in my experience, I'm a CPA, but when somebody says, Joel, what do you do? I don't tell them I'm a CPA. I tell them I'm a seller. The skill I'm the most proud of is that I know how to sell. Because if you're down on your luck, you can always get yourself out of the hole if you have selling skills. If I said I wanted to go be an accountant, I'm not even worth $40 an hour as an accountant. I'm a terrible accountant. And that's more than I was paid back then. I mean, I was never, but give me something to sell and I could make a living. I mean, a good living, So, I mean, that's just me. I think that that's just the most important skill that most all of us can have.
I'm not seeing this as a big deficit for you. You're not worth $40 an hour because you're worth $40,000 an hour.
And some hours it works like that,
That's right.
Not every hour, but once in a while that happens. Yeah. Based on structure, you got to structure your deal properly too.
Amen.
There's a lot of these things work together,
I think what I love about you, many other things as we're friends, but the mindset. So you can do the skills, you can do the selling, you can have the structure, you can do the octopus, you can have all these things. If your mindset isn't strong, confident, and clear that you have some awesome value, I mean, I tell people, if you're truly connected to your positioning and messaging and the value, and you've drawn the line to the money, you should actually feel sorry for the people who don't buy from you. Not from a place of arrogance, but from a place that they're genuinely missing out on how much you can serve them and how far you can advance their goals.
Somebody asked me recently, when I raised $10 million, in the 90s for this concept that I had, and I was going to all these different companies, asking them for money, and I was calling saying, it wasn't like I was begging for money. I'd say, look, we have this really cool concept. Do you want to get behind it and invest in the concept? And many of these companies would say, no, we don't like it. And so I went to a trade show and I'm showing it to company after company after company. And somebody said, how did you keep going? And it was a very futuristic concept back then. It was delivering stock quotes to investors by fax in the early 90s. I mean, very futuristic back then. And most of these people just couldn't see it. And they said, how did you keep going? How did you persist? And what was your self-talk, about that? And I said, you know what? I just thought these people are too stupid to see it. They can't see it. And maybe a little arrogant, but that just kept me going until finally I ran into some people at a big company who saw it and they saw it fast. And the second they saw it, they wrote a big check. And they said, this is exactly what we've been looking for. We didn't know what it was going to look like, but this is it. And they put a bunch of money in it and we went and made it happen. And so, I think, David, you're right that if people don't see your value, then you should feel sorry for them, not sorry for yourself. And that attitude, man, attitude is everything. I mean, you got to keep yourself going. People are lucky to have you in their life. And if you don't feel that way about yourself, you're going to show up in a less than helpful and good way.
Could not agree more. All right. How do people get connected and stay connected to your empire and all the goodies that you have to share?
All right. Listen, first of all, I'm going to offer something special. I didn't have anything planned, but anybody who buys the book from Amazon, and you can put the link, I'll also give them a free copy of the speaker edition, the PDF.
Sweet.
Okay. So, or you can fulfill it either way. Anyway, we'll figure out how to do that. But if they buy the entrepreneur edition, we'll give them a copy of the speaker edition too.
Nice.
Okay. So they get 2 for 1. That'll be kind of a fun and cool thing. If you want to just come to me, you can go to joelblock.com and you can, look at the videos. You can see some stuff, whatever. You can see what I do. And I think there's a way to opt into something. I don't send out a lot of emails. I don't promote a lot of stuff. I do have these money minutes and some economic commentary that I do. And I got to look on the website and see if we even have a good way for regular people to opt in. Most of these are usually corporate type people, but I'm going to make sure we have a way for other citizens to hear what I have to say.
We're going to take care of our citizens.
You know what? Believe it or not, joking aside, I believe in that. I think that our citizenship needs to be more educated. They need to hear things in a different way, from a different perspective. I'm not a political person. I look at things, in a financial way and kind of what the economic impact of things is. And, I've got a political opinion, but it's pretty libertarian. It's kind of like, I'm not going to wreck up your life if you won't wreck up mine, and let's just get along and be friends. And I think if we took a lot of politics and religion and a lot of other weird stuff out of our life, we could all get along pretty well.
And let's all make money.
And we can all make some money too.
And make the world a better place at the same time.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it, but if you don't have any money, it's pretty hard to make the world a better place.
Well, that's the other thing. And we could just keep it going on and on here. But one of the things we say inside of our company is, the world needs you rich. The world needs you rich.
Rich
the world
people
needs Joel Block rich. So thank goodness that you are and you're getting richer, because that's how we do good in the world.
Rich people can do a lot of good. I mean, everybody can do some good, but wealthy people really can make things happen. And if they got big hearts and they're well-intended, wealthier people can really make a big difference.
Love it. All right, Joel Block, you are awesome. We're going to have you back because, as you know, we can just be having these conversations that go on for hours and hours and hours. So consider this in advance. Can't wait to have you back on the next episode, a few months down the road.
Done.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.